What's that smell like to you? The house is the fucking safe.
Actually, no, that was me. I just shit my pants.
Again?
Welcome into the Bro 4 Squad podcast. This is our spoilers review of the new Netflix original movie, Triple Frontier. I am your host, Jeff Hornacek. Joining me tonight is the mad scientist Brian Banner and the American hero Nate Thurman to grade this film, as we do all of our movies, on the 5 Bro 4 Squad criteria: the acting, the story, our favorite scene, any lasting impact, and the movie's rewatchability. So, no surprise, Netflix has stepped up their fucking game in like the past 6 months, and this was a treat. Nate, the American hero, we'll go to you first. Acting and cast, your thoughts on Triple Frontier.
This was kind of a monumental leap for Netflix because they're taking some big swings, and with this one, they knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. You've got Ben Affleck, Charlie Hunnam, Oscar Isaacs.
Heard of them?
Have you?
Yeah, I'm familiar with their work, yes.
But no, for the acting cast, they knocked it out of the park. And they're really starting to compete with all the other movie production companies. So they're actually showing that they have the weight behind them, and they can get some good directors in here to cast these movies and really get them out there to the public. But yeah, it was great. After Bird Box, I feel like this was kind of the second big movie. Well, obviously Roma coming out recently, but this is kind of like the third one, I guess, that Netflix has been put out there, and they're really competing with a lot of the other people out there.
So, Banner, before we go to you, what I would say, because the timely discussion about this is Steven Spielberg saying that these are TV movies. So I would just put the ball in Spielberg's court and say, did this look like a fucking TV movie cast to you, bro? Banner, what were your thoughts on the acting?
Just kind of piggybacking off of you real quick. If this is considered a TV movie, I'm all in on TV movies even more than I was already, because this thing was phenomenal. Obviously Ben Affleck, I think this is the first one that he actually kind of cared about, and I think he was sober for the most part in filming this one, and you can definitely tell he didn't mail it in. I thought he did a fantastic job, but I really, really enjoyed Garrett Hedlund. I
love him, dude.
I thought he did absolutely phenomenal in this. He might have been my favorite character. He gave me a little bit of everything. He was kind of funny. He was serious. He was a badass. He took the lead when he needed to, but kind of stepped back and took a backseat role when he needed to. I thoroughly enjoyed his performance, as I did everybody's, but he specifically kind of stood out to me.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad you pinpointed him, because what you said is exactly what happened. He was a very impactful character, and he knew when to step in and when to step out, and he played that role like to a T.
It's weird because even Pedro Pascal's character, like all 5 of these guys, have a pretty solid arc in this, and they don't end up in the same spot they started. Banner, to your point, Affleck looked like he had something to prove in this. Like he wanted to get the taste.
Fantastic.
Right, he wanted to get the taste of the DCE out of his mouth, and he knew that he had to show audiences he's still got his fastball. And him and Oscar Isaac, they have maybe some of the most powerful scenes in this movie, and that's just 2 heavyweights throwing their haymakers at each other. One thing I have to say, I know Nate and I talked about this off pod, Charlie Hunnam, he was good in this, but his accent was slipping in and out.
Like the opening scene is his monologue, and it, like, I picked up immediately, and I was like, I don't know, this is gonna bug me.
I honestly thought that like he was the only one that wasn't gonna be an American, but like still worked with them in the special forces, coming from like England or even Australia, even though I know he's English. That was it was bad.
Yeah, after the opening scene, I couldn't tell like what Banner was saying if he was an American after the opening scene. I was like, is he? I think he is.
Yeah, and he's had an interesting career arc. He's been the guy on the precipice of blowing up seemingly for like 4 or 5 years. And I think it's totally fine and acceptable for us to just realize Charlie Hunnam is a strong ancillary character. He's a good actor, but I don't think you want him front and center in your movie. But if he's in a supporting role like this, that's putting him in his best position to succeed. And this was, I think, the perfect role for him. Didn't have too much pressure on him. He could just sort of step up when he needed to, and was kind of the more stoic. I mean, him and Billy are like the opposite of each other as brothers in it, and they had a great dynamic, I thought, in the whole film. All right, story and plot. Banner, what'd you think?
First off, the premise of this, like you have soldiers that aren't in the military anymore, but they have a very specific skill set, like trying to find their place in this world post being in the military. I think that's really going to resonate for a lot of people. I mean, obviously, none of us on this podcast were ever in the military, but you talk to people that were in the military that struggle with that all the fucking time. And then to flip it on its head and be like, hey, yeah, we're really good at this. Like, fuck everybody else. Like, let's just for once, let's be selfish and do what we want to do. They got very quickly into the point of the story. Like, I honestly think that opening scene with Oscar Isaac and kind of trying to go and catch Larea, it was a little strung out for me, if I'm gonna be honest with you. Once we got past that and he started assembling the team, if you will, I was all in. And then obviously you go through the house, clearing the house and blah, blah, blah. The one point that really, well, we'll get to that in best scene, but just the whole idea that they took $250 million and they came out with basically nothing is just, again, it shows that your true character is eventually going to show out, even if you don't necessarily make the quote unquote right decision, which I thought was kind of a cool backstory, or kind of a cool idea that they had played into it.
Yeah, it definitely had a couple different messages that I thought all worked, and none of them felt too preachy, which is sometimes hard to do with this sort of subject matter.
And it was none of it was forced either.
Yeah. Nate, how about you?
Yeah. Yeah, the overall story and plot was great. I really liked how it was set up, how it was followed through, and like Banner was saying, how it was like these ex-military guys coming back from being out for a while and then saying, hey, you know how many times we've seen like millions of dollars and we haven't touched a dime of it? This is our time to actually get ours. And
I think the one guy had a great line. He's like, it's been literally sitting at our feet and we didn't touch it.
Yeah, exactly. They've been within arm's reach and they haven't done anything for it because that was the right thing to do, and they were doing it for their country. And they kind of hit some points on that later in the movie, saying that, oh, you put all this forth for your country and what, you can't even support yourself. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was great. There were a few issues I had, and I'll bring those up. The carrying all those bags through the jungle over the mountains. I know it was integral to the part of the story, but I just don't know how realistic that part is, and I had a hard time wrapping my head around that and how they accomplished it.
After the mules, is that what you're talking about? After
yeah, basically after the mules, after they had to string them together, and they're basically like throwing them down a assembly line.
After mule apocalypse on the
mule apocalypse.
At first, I was really sad when the mule fell off, and then I was like, okay, the money is flying everywhere. That's kind of cool. In a weird way.
I wanted the guy to be like, you okay, mule? You good?
Make a mule sound.
Oh, he's dead.
But no, it hit on a lot of emotions too. There was some hints of betrayal in there that they didn't come to full light, but you kind of felt them. And then you obviously had the friendship that these guys had made, and then honesty and trust. So it hit on all the major points to get you in the feels on everything, and brought your anxiety levels up to astronomical levels during some scenes.
Every thread they wanted to pull on, I think, worked in terms of
absolutely
eliciting an emotion. I don't have much to add to that. I think this was probably my favorite story that I've seen in a movie so far in 2019. Glass had that potential, but this one was just perfectly executed. A very definitive 3 acts and very, very well paced. The first act is setting up who is Larea and Oscar Isaac sort of like recruiting his friends. The second act is planning this heist and following through on it. And then the third act is the fallout of it and them trying to get this money out of the country, which I thought every every bit of that like was just so perfectly segmented and directed that it worked so well as a movie. One thing I want to ask you guys before we move on, because I don't know what other category this would fit in. Ben Affleck's character, obviously this is a spoilers review we said off the top. Do you guys think that he had some design of betraying his friends and taking the money?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I kind of prefaced that a second ago, saying that the betrayal was kind of a big part of it, kind of in the later part of the second act and going into the third one. But yeah, they don't ever really bring it to light. They just give you like these little tinges of it, saying, "Hey, Affleck might be turned into a dick here."
Because
And
when
might,
Yavanna says, "Yeah,
yeah,
he told me he trusts you no matter what," he was like, "God damn it! Now
yeah,
I
he,
feel bad because I'm about to steal his money."
yeah, that was a weird, really weird interaction because of his line. I believe it was along the lines that he just said, "Why? Why did he tell you that?"
Yeah.
And he started feeling bad.
And Oscar Isaac comes over. Is everything okay? And he just goes, "No, shut up, mom."
This is a perfect segue, and I'm gonna steal the limelight here for a second, Horns, but in the best scene, because that I think that was my best scene or most impactful scene in the movie was when Ben Affleck died. Because first off, I don't know how, but I didn't see it coming
I didn't
that
really,
he's just gonna get capped in the head.
especially by some kid with a Neymar jersey on. I thought it would have to
Right.
be like some other high level operative to really get him.
Yeah. I would think he would at least have like a Ronaldo or a Messi jersey on, but to each his own. Um, when he died, at first I was like, oh fuck, he died. And then I was like, you know what? He kind of deserved it. Then I was like, but did he? And I was very confused at that point. But that was really the turning point. Like you said, there's these definitive 3 acts, that turning point from the second to the third act. Like, okay, what the fuck have we done? But it was kind of his own fault. I don't know. I was very conflicted, but I enjoyed that scene and what it did to me mind fucking wise.
I think that's the great thing about the character dynamics in this is there are times where you you like and empathize with each of the five, and then there are times where with each of the five of them you're like, dude, fuck this guy. Is just
Yeah,
why it
and
was so well.
in that scene, I couldn't tell if Oscar Isaacs. I mean, he obviously killed the kid after he shot Affleck, but there's a weird dynamic. I don't know. It almost looked like he knew that kid was there for a second and he didn't do anything. I don't know. That's kind of
Yeah,
the
it was
take
almost
that I
like
had.
did
Yeah,
he
the reflexes he had when he shot his dad or whatever were not as quick as the ones when he turned around and saw that kid on the rock.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of weird.
So I don't know if he was like masochistic and kind of wanted to. Nate, what was your best scene?
So my best scene was the helicopter scene when they're basically trying to climb altitude, get through the valley, and then get
So
over the last
intense.
part of the mountains to get to the beach.
That was fucking
Your
awesome.
anxiety levels just went through the roof. I was just sitting on the edge of my couch, my palms fucking sweaty. And
Knees weak, arms heavy.
there we go, mom spaghetti. But on top of that, and how the directing and how they shot that made you feel like you were in that situation. You felt the anxiety and you knew the weight of the situation if they didn't make it over that. That's when it was kind of a turning point in the plot as well, because they start, hey, we got to get rid of this money. So they start shoving it out the back. And that's when they
what's
finally.
so weird. How invested in their money I was too, because they started
Yeah.
throwing the money out, and even my fiance and I were like, "Oh, this is hurting me to watch them just toss this."
Yeah, they have a mindset change at that point where they have to dump all this money out, and then as they're careening down, there's another level to that where they have to let go of the cargo, which it didn't fall too far, but yeah. On top
That
of
caused
the,
problems in that village because people were like,
exactly.
"The fuck's in these bags?"
Yeah, so after the helicopter scene and that, it kind of led to some other things that went on, but I think that was a big scene for a couple different reasons.
Yeah, and that was very visceral, and the cinematography in this, like, again, if not James Cameron, Steven Spielberg thinks this is a TV movie, watch that scene and how it's shot, and this is not like MacGyver or like Get Smart from the '60s. My best scene was the scene where Oscar Isaac gets his team. I think they had already done the initial reconnaissance in Brazil of Larea's house in the woods or in the forest, and he takes them to that bar, and he basically informs them like, "Look, I actually paid your fees to get you down here. I think we should just do this on our own." The speech that he gives them in the parking lot of that bar about how he's like about Ben Affleck. He says, "You've been shot 6 times for your country, and you can't even make ends meet, and you're trying to sell condos. Like, we owe this to ourselves, and we know we have the skill set to do it. like, let's just do it for one time. Let's do something for us. And to see those five dudes just one in a circle with each other, I was like, this is fucking awesome that these five actors are together. But also to me, it felt like really the message of the whole movie, and it summarized their whole drive and their motivation for the rest of the film. So I just thought that was really cool.
I think what we've kind of an undertone that we've been talking about this entire pod is the movie isn't the story of them stealing the money. The movie is the camaraderie of these five characters. And each one of these characters, I think, Jeff, you said it earlier, have a very distinct arc. They're not in the same place at the end of the movie that they were in the beginning and how they got there. To have a five just heavyweight actors like this in the same movie, this kind of chemistry and kind of playing off of each other. These guys had to have, like, in real life, like, gone through a crazy night in Cabo or something like that to have this kind of camaraderie. It literally, to me, felt like it was us. Like, we've all been friends for 10, 15 years now, but these guys obviously probably only known each other for a couple of years.
Yeah.
That's the movie, and that camaraderie, and that they do a fantastic job of feeling it. And that scene that you were just talking about, we really get the essence of that. And then obviously them working as a team, clearing the house. I think we can all agree that was one of the coolest scenes of them stealing the money.
I mean, that was the movie, right?
That was the movie. Stealing the money, then clearing the house and escaping from Lorea's house. Like,
well, I think that was the cool part too. After that, I basically had felt like I had emotionally peaked with the film, and I paused it, and there was an hour left. I was like, how the fuck are they going to make this work? But it somehow just got more intense from there on, which was interesting. Because the actual heist itself, like you said, Brian, seemed pretty simple for them. But that's really not what the movie's about. You kind of think it is, but you realize, oh, the real drama's about to happen with this.
Yeah. Once they get into the house and then they realize that there's money in every fucking wall they tear open. And then that's obviously a huge turning point, and that's where the greed starts kicking in. And then, I don't know if Ben Affleck in the movie had actually made this up, but they're like, you said we have a hard out. And he's like, no, I actually had it 15 minutes in. He's like, did you though?
Well, and that's why, Nate, talking about like how invested you were, I was like, you can fucking take a few more bags, guys. I mean, especially when Pedro Pascal ripped open that other wall, I was like, dude, why'd you do that? Because now we have to try and get some of this money too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you said you thought you emotionally peaked in the movie at that point. And you still had the helicopter scene and then killing the villagers and then Affleck dying. So there was a ton more left on the table after that too.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I kind of already want to rewatch it just talking about this. All right. Lasting impact. Nate, what were your thoughts after the movie, the impact it has, anything that really just stuck with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of a ongoing theme, especially with me on the pod here, is how Netflix and these streaming services are just living up to the hype. And like I had mentioned earlier in the pod, this is going to have a huge impact. And if you follow Horns or the squad on Twitter, you can see all the bashing of Steven Spielberg. But these are going to start winning lots of awards if they keep putting these together. And so we're seeing this as a springboard for a different type of movie making. So honestly, I don't want to overplay it, but yes, this movie will have a huge impact on movies going forward, especially for streaming services.
Yeah, if you're not an event film at the theaters, this would scare the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, what do you think? Lasting impact?
Yeah, I think we're in a really cool spot right now as far as movies and visual entertainment, movies and TV right now, because before you had that primetime 7:00 spot for TV shows on network TV, and or that 8 or that 9:00 spot. Now you have these streaming services where you can binge everything. And the last 3 or 4 years is that transition, that migration has happened. I think we're seeing that exact same migration now in movies. Before, you had these blockbuster, huge budget, awesome actors, great director films that would come out, in the summer or around Thanksgiving, Christmas time. Now we're seeing those come out. I mean, guys, it's the middle of fucking March.
I know.
And it's coming out on Netflix it was like a Tuesday. It was like a Tuesday night that it came out.
Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that.
Which is just insane to me. And so we're seeing the landscape of cinema changing right before our eyes. And I love it. I mean, regardless of what your opinions are on going to the movies, there's some part of me that will never change. Like going to the movies, getting a frozen Coke and some popcorn, watching a lot larger than life movie. There's something about that that's always going to be there, but I don't have to do it every fucking weekend now to see a good movie. And if this wasn't a good movie, on the flip side, I can fucking turn it off and I didn't just waste $35.
Yeah. And more importantly, you can pause it and go take a piss at any time, which I took advantage of. Impact for me, this might not sound like a huge heap of praise, but when you look at the sheer number of movies that have come out, I'm not afraid to say this. This is the best Netflix movie ever. Yes, I'm referring to Roma. I'm referring to even like Velvet Buzzsaw and everything that came out last year. This is the best Netflix original movie ever. And so far, I know it's early. It's my favorite movie of the year. At the beginning of our of the year in our movie preview pod, this was my most anticipated film of the year. I feel really good about that pick now. And I don't think I can stress how impressed with this movie I was and how fucking awesome I thought it was. Again, if you're Steven Spielberg listening to this, which I know you are, Steve, that's what I call him, I would be very scared right now. Because if I'm the Academy and you come in and tell me that Netflix or TV movies, I just fucking play this and I make you sit there and watch it for 2 hours and 5 minutes. And then I tell you anything else and you will walk out because this is an incredible film and it holds up to anything in theaters.
He'll just be pissed he didn't get the directing job on it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, last one, rewatchability. I'm probably going to rewatch this one more time. It is pretty heavy subject matter, I think, to its benefit, though. Like, it works. But I don't want to sound too like I have too much important stuff going on in my life, because I don't. But it's tough for me to rewatch anything now, like right when it came out. So it might be a little while. But at some point in my life, I will definitely revisit this. And if someone hasn't seen it and I'm with them, I'll be like, all right, let's put it on. You got to check this out.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Banner, how about you?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm probably not going to watch it within the next 6 months. Definitely towards the end of the year or obviously around Oscar time, because I'm sure this is going to get it's got to get some love. Maybe not best picture, best directing.
Why not?
Got a shot. Cinematography for sure. It's got to be in the conversation. I'll probably revisit it then after we've seen some of the other stuff that comes out. Nate, before we get on to you, I have a question for you guys though, because I don't really know where else this would fit in. So at the end of the movie, Charlie Hunnam hands Oscar Isaac the coordinates. Are we going to get a second one? And will you guys watch it? Because obviously the entire story and the premise of the story is going to be completely different from this one. So would it work? Could it work? Would you guys watch it? Obviously, we lost Ben Affleck. So is it going to be a different team? What do you guys think? And would you guys be excited for a movie like that? I mean, obviously, they all gave all their money away to Affleck's family, so they're back to square zero. They need some money.
Yeah. Nate, you can go first.
Yeah, definitely would be in for that. And that's the first thought I had after the movie ended is, are they setting this up for a sequel? Which it'll be completely different, but the way that movie ended, not just literally the last scene, but how all of the characters in the movie probably feel at this point. They feel cheated. They feel good because they gave their money away, and that's what they felt was the right thing to do. But they still had that hunger to get all that money because of what they went through. And Ben Affleck is dead, so lost his life. So I hope they do a sequel to this because I'll definitely be in on it.
Yeah, for me, there's two ways you could go with a sequel, and yes, I'd watch the shit out of it. But I'm trying to think where the drama would come from, anything to rival this, and I guess it could be, number one, if Oscar Isaac's character, Pope, tracks down Yavanna, and either Lorea's men have somehow gotten to her, or she's in some sort of trouble. That could be an interesting part of a sequel. I don't know if that's a whole movie there, but it could definitely tie into it. And then also, like, maybe they go back for the money and either the villagers have somehow found out about it, or again, they did make a point to say you're not just stealing Lorea's money, this is other people's money. So maybe there's another rival cartel that finds out about it and they're just like they're waiting for them or something. I'm not sure, but there definitely is something there. I would need the creative team to come back for me to feel as good about it as I did this one. But if they were trying to see the reception for this, I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about this movie, so I'm sure there's an appetite for a second one, even without Affleck.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's got to be a bigger, better wolf than Lorea to bring in. Maybe they kidnap, like you said, Pope's girl, or even more of the family, maybe or an Affleck's family, and so they feel like they need to protect them in some way. I don't know. I cut you off though, Thurman. Rewatchability, where you at on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all in the same boat. I'll probably rewatch it down the road, but it'll definitely come at some point.
All right. Any last thing you guys want to say about Triple Frontier, Banner?
No, I mean, I loved it. I'll watch it again, again at some point, and maybe I will. Maybe I will.
It's not even your type. Nate, how about you? Any last thoughts?
No, not too much. I kind of agree with you on it's my favorite movie of the year so far.
There we go.
I'll jump on that train with you.
Choo choo!
All aboard!
All right, for the American hero Nate Thurmond, the mad scientist Brian Banner, I am the mayor Jeff Hornacek, and we have been the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, and Spotify. Type in Bro Force Squad. That's 3 words. Check out all of our reviews on letterboxd.com. Follow us on Twitter at BroForceSquad, and check out everything we're doing if you have access to the internet on BroForceSquad.com. Till next time, we'll catch you at the movies or on our streaming service.
This is definitely the best movie I've seen today.
You didn't watch it today.
Don't do that.
Turn subtitles on. I wonder how accurate that would be. I'm scared to try it. Let me try it real quick.
So if I start talking, is something popping up on your screen?
Hang on, it says turning subtitles on, so it's in the... Okay, talk.
So I'm talking now because words are coming out of my mouth.
Oh my gosh, this is really good.
Shit, fuck, dick.
Is that just recording, or can I do that here?
It bleeps out shit, fuck, dick, though. Can you guys see it?